So Carleen Turner gave quite the spiel about her son in her letter to Aaron Persky. And this might be a little long, but we're just going to go through and try and hit the important points. And in the opening line, you're going to see she's really trying. She's really, really trying. Dear Honorable Judge Persky. Aw, isn't that cute? You're trying to butter him up. Thank you for the opportunity to write a letter and introduce you to my son, Brock Turner, the real Brock Allen Turner. None of us are interested in introductions. We've heard it all before. Unless I'm introducing my foot to his face or his face to the street curb, I don't want to hear it. I'm abundantly proud to call him my son. He is my heart, my soul, and brings me great joy. Oh, isn't that cute? You can still acknowledge that what he did was wrong. She's talking about how Brock was easygoing, kind, considerate, respectful, goal-oriented, hardworking, dedicated, studious, humble, introverted. All these adjectives, all these descriptors. You know, performs, achieves, shying away from any attention and recognition. Yeah, I shy away from attention and recognition too if I was known as the Stanford rapist. And she's like, I use past tense in referring to his smile because since the verdict he has not smiled. Oh no, whatever will we do? The expression on his face is one of pure pain and anguish. Good. Good. Maybe he's feeling a fraction of what this victim is feeling. And then she's like, I was lucky to be a stay-at-home mom after Brock was born, so of our 3 kids, he is the one I spent the most time with throughout his life. Ooh, honey, and you didn't teach him to respect women better? Ouch. I feel like a failure as a mother, but that's just me. There's also, since his siblings were in college, he also had 3 years of high school being an only child. I don't see what that has to do with being with a criminal case, but hey, maybe, I don't know. I don't work in the justice system. Maybe it's something special. I don't know. She's talking about how they sat down to dinner every night and had great conversations about future plans and aspirations. Woohoo! Things that parents should do because parents are supposed to love their kids. Big dreams and goals, blah, blah, blah. Be able to achieve all of them. Strict work ethic and drive. Well, there was a lapse in ethic or drive when he decided to ruin all that for himself. Talking about struggling with learning the alphabet and reading, and when he was young, and going to a reading tutor, and how he, I don't. There is this stuff in here that I don't understand how it's relevant, and maybe I'm stupid and I don't get it, but I don't see how going to a reading tutor when you're young, or Cub Scouts, and selling popcorn and sitting with an old person on their porch while you're selling popcorn is supposed to correlate to this trial that's going on. And since the verdict's been given, he can't change it. I don't see how this. I think what they're trying to do here is bring some humanity to Brock after everything that's been said about him and posted about him, and you're just trying to bring some humanity to him. And I understand that he's human. He's your son. You love him, but that doesn't mean that you should advocate and say that what he wasn't wrong in what he did, because he was. My parents always made me take accountability for things I did wrong and for transgressions I had. And I'm not gonna lie, I've done some bad things. I'm human. But my parents always made sure I took accountability and knew that what I did was wrong, so I wouldn't do it again. Or so I wouldn't hurt someone if I chose to do it again. So I would know the impact of my actions. So that's the thing here. They're just trying to humanize him, and I understand that. My whenever people just see me as my condition or as my bad actions as opposed to my good, they always try to humanize me, and I get that. I get that. I try to do that too when I defend people. It's just natural for people you love, but I'm never gonna say that like, oh well, I'm gonna humanize them, and even though I know what they did was wrong, I'm gonna say that, you know, it's fine. They did nothing wrong. What they did was no, because that's not how this works. So he's talking about, you know, the several programs that were done in school in 6th grade. There was a musical, and Brock Turner was chosen to play Bill Sykes, who's a bad guy, and Oliver Twist. Um, and you know, um, Brock couldn't stop smiling, and the teacher said he's supposed to be mean, and she couldn't get Brock to act mean, and she's like, Brock was just a nice guy. Brock also started swimming competitively at age 4. They're talking about him being on a summer swim team, and how, you know, talking about how coaches helped him and everything, um, and how Brock was coachable, and how her and Dan never pushed him. It was always Brock who wanted to do these things. Just, you know, watching him race and all the things she loved about swim meets, how when he won a race, he waited for every swimmer to finish so he could shake everyone's hand. He wasn't arrogant, cocky, blah, 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 blah. There was a part of interviewing swimmers, and Brock didn't talk about himself. He was kind of uncomfortable and not meek. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Modest. He wasn't. He was modest. He didn't. He wasn't braggadocious. Um, and you know, he was just trying to say he was doing his best for the team. National meets, all this fun stuff. How Brock was such a joy for their children to swim with. How he increased his swimming and everything when he moved, you know, when he moved into high school and all that, academically oriented, all this fun stuff, AP courses, while still maintaining a, you know, a good grade point average where he, you know, where he got A's. If he got a B, he's like, I know I'm capable of an A. And just, you know, and talking about his sacrifices from football games, homecoming, never attended a basketball game, missed out on social activities. Um, but, you know, that's, that, that's things that a lot of people who are really invested in their sport do. They miss out because they want to make it big in the sports world, and that's not extraordinary if they really want it. I don't know why we're praising him for doing it. He's talking about how he was thoughtful and did special things for his girlfriend, special promposal and puppies, and oh god, and you know, oh god, you know, the jumbotron and shit like that, and you know, just I don't see what a promposal and puppies and exes have to do with this, but that's me, and hugging before he went to his dorm at Stanford. So, but we're getting to the very interesting parts, I promise. So, there's just one more part where she's really pushing it here, trying to make him seem like an angel. And that's how she's talking about how he kind of broke down when he was home for Christmas, about he was homesick and stuff like that. You know, things probably a lot of college freshmen feel if they're out of state or away from home. I know my best friend, he went to University of Delaware, and while we are in Maryland, Delaware was still pretty far, and he didn't get to come home every weekend or every holiday. So every chance I got to see him, it was really great. He would tell me he was homesick, how he missed his family, his friends, our group of friends, the nerd herd, because we all went to different colleges. So I can attest that it's really painful sometimes to be away for so long from things that are so familiar. So here she's talking about how Brock is incredibly kind-hearted, towards the more disenfranchised members of our society. Because he had an uncle who was severely mentally retarded. I would like to say mentally handicapped. I think retarded is a very outdated and rather offensive term. He also had cerebral palsy and epilepsy. So she says, my kids were around my brother from the time they were babies, and they all learned quickly how to play and interact with him. His name was Scott. He didn't really speak other than say bye-bye. He played with blocks, puzzles. He is basically kind of like a big toddler, is what she's saying. Brock spent a lot of time with his uncle, and his uncle died very young. He was only 38. But he was in first grade. So Brock's mom, her sister, Carleen's mom, Carleen's sister, and her remember how Brock adjusted the quilt covering her brother because it had to be just right for Uncle Scotty. Classmates who had special needs, and his teachers always say how he was such a nice friend and went out of his way to include everyone. He participated in the Oakwood Adapted Athletics, Special Olympics swim team. He served as an able-bodied partner with the Special Olympians. And one of the boys wanted a blue ribbon more than anything, and Brock promised him that their relay would get a blue ribbon. And as we all know, blue ribbons are good. They mean first place. These are things that are trying to make him look very human, like a very good person, and I understand that. Outside of the night of January 17th and 18th, he's probably a great guy. He's probably pretty nice, but these are not excuses for what he did. And also Theodore got the blue ribbon, in case you were wondering. He did succeed. Well, actually, I'm sorry. The first relay they did, they got second place, but the second relay they did that day, they got the blue ribbon, so good job, guys. Now she's talking about how there are references of Brock being from a wealthy, privileged background and how he thinks he's entitled. Now, I know I'm part of the millennial generation, and I know I'm going to sound like a shitbag millennial to you guys. I'm so sorry. I need a moment. Oh, well, there went half my face. And I know I'm going to sound like a shitbag millennial when I do this, but Brock actually has quite a few privileges. One was being an only child throughout high school. So, there's part of his entitlement right there. But she's saying that, like, this couldn't be further from the truth. Working middle class couple, Midwestern values. Dan's an electrical engineer. And that she is a nurse, I believe. She works in a trauma center with a specialty in gynecology surgery. So these are pretty nice paying jobs as far as I'm aware, at least by Maryland standards. They are lucky to make this. You have to be pretty smart to be an engineer, much less work in a level 1 trauma center. And her dad, Brock's brother Brent graduated with a biomedical engineering degree and works for Mammotome in Cincinnati. And he has $30,000 in student loan debt. Well, if you're a biomedical engineer, you're pretty smart, and if you have a job, you're pretty lucky too. That's a nice paying job, even if you're in a starting position. So he should be paying his student loans. He shouldn't have a problem, right? And then they're talking about Caroline, who graduated with a degree in fine art. She's $60,000 in student loan debt, and she's unemployed and had to quit her job because of the verdict. Well, that's her fault. Fine arts is a very hard thing to find a job with. It's not practical in many people's opinions, including mine. I love the arts. I think if you're a big art fanatic, it can be something you do on the side, but it's not practical. So she's saying our kids have student loan debt because while Dan and I both have decent jobs, we don't make enough to afford to pay for college. Well, then your kids get scholarships? There was a girl in my high school who applied for every scholarship that she was eligible for, even some she wasn't eligible for, hoping that they would just make a little mistake and she'd sort it out later. But the thing is, scholarships, if they know you can't afford it, they should look for scholarships. She's talking about all the debt they've accumulated from 14 months leading up to it, and she's saying their situation right now is precarious and unstable. Well, see, here's the thing. Brock is from a privileged family. You're wealthier than a good percentage of the American population. Not to mention, Brock was there on a swimming scholarship. You guys weren't footing the whole bill. So, Brock feels pretty entitled because he got a nice scholarship and got into a very prestigious college, but I couldn't get in no matter what I tried. So, we say he's from this wealthy, privileged background because he is. But you're saying that he's not privileged. Carleen, I'm going to read you off some privileges your son has. He has ability privilege. He's an able-bodied male. He's able-bodied. There are no accommodations that need to be made for him in any way, shape, or form. He's also educationally privileged. He has the ability to get a higher education, get a degree, get this, that, and the other to get him a better job. I understand now that's different because he was kicked out of Stanford and that he probably won't find a nice job as he would have had the things that happened not happened. He also has a gender and gender identity privilege. He was born male. If you're male, you already have a hand up. But he also identifies as male. He does not identify as anything else but male. There's also that racial privilege. I've heard someone say that white is not the best race to be, but it is damn near the easiest, and that's right. That's white. You had this been a black man's trial, things would not have turned out the way they did for this one. He's also religious. You guys seem to be Christian, at least. There's a lot of Christians. I can see that. That's pretty good. And priests can absolve you of your sins, and you'll supposedly go to heaven. Sexuality. He identifies as heterosexual, not bisexual, not homosexual, not asexual, not any other sexuality than heterosexuality. He also has socioeconomic. Like I said, you guys are richer than a good percentage of American citizens. So you are, in fact, pretty well off. Even if your situation is a little iffy right now. So that's that. So now she's talking about how their lives exist in two phases, prior to that weekend and then after that weekend. And she's talking about how she was excited and they sold their home, they raised their kids in, and they went to downsize, and they moved. So they moved into the new home on January 17th. Wow. And then they got that fateful call from Brock on the 18th, and they said that their world has been spinning apart ever since. This house now reminds me of the horror of that moment. I have not decorated the house, nor have I hung anything on the walls. I am a mom who loves family pictures, but I haven't had the heart to put photos around of our family being happy. Wow. You can't interior decorate your new house. Whatever will we do? I am so sorry. I can't imagine the trauma. I'm flabbergasted. You guys can tell I'm being sarcastic, right? Okay, good. So she's like, I will never be happy again. Anxiety, doubt, dread, all these things. And then she asks why him, and I'll tell you why. Because people have to accept the consequences of their actions. Alcohol plus Brock plus dumpster, it's not that hard. But there's just this idea that it's just her and Brock and what happened. She never acknowledges the victim. She was talking about the horribleness of the horror of the verdict and Brock being all sad and crap and God. But yeah, just oh God, no, I can't decorate my house. But maybe she's a great interior decorator. I don't know. And then she goes to talk about a relative who died from Alzheimer's and crap, and like God, it's just a lot going on here that she's all over the place. Oh man, I don't know how she was able to be all over the place, but I mean, just everywhere with us. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. But she at one point talks about how Brock told the truth, and that Brock told them what happened, or at least told her. But see, there are usually many different sides to a story, at least two. So Brock could have told you whatever the hell he liked, and you would have just taken his word. He could have. You could decide whatever you like. You could decide you raped Audrey Hepburn if you wanted. I mean, you can't just take his word, even if he didn't black out. You can't just take his word. He's gonna say whatever is gonna make him look good. But then she's like, Your Honor, I beg of you to show Brock mercy. He has never been in trouble, never even had a demerit in high school, blah, 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 blah. I think getting a ticket for being a minor and having alcohol is being in trouble. And having a fake ID, you shouldn't. That's trouble. And he did show Brock mercy. He only served 3 months of a 6-month sentence. That should have been much, much harsher than it was. Talking about how, show him a message that his life still has meaning. She's talking about how Ohio is strict with their sexual offender registry. Now, Brock is at a tier 3 sex offender. This means that he's on the same level as pedophiles and child molesters. And there's no differentiation. And I know that sometimes you are not on the sex offender registry for life in some states. He is. He has to register every 3 months for the rest of his life. But there are places that still hire sex offenders. And now she's like, I fear for his lifelong safety. Good. You should be afraid. And so should he. She also talks about lifelong scrutiny and, struggling for decent work. What can he do? What can he do? And then she goes on and says that, oh God, my eyes are bugging out. She goes on to say, I beg of you, please don't send him to jail/prison. Look at him, he won't survive it. She fears her son would be a major target. And he would. And she says this would be a death sentence for him. Well, see, here's the thing. There's county jails and then there's Gen Pop and maximum security prisons. Your son was put in county jail. He didn't have to deal with Bubba all by himself, if he had to deal with Bubba at all. Do you know what they do to child molesters and rapists in general population, Carleen? Yeah, is that why you didn't want him to go to jail? Lucky you. He asked for protection in jail. He was fine. But you didn't want him to face any consequences at all. You didn't even acknowledge the victim or that what your son did was wrong. He should have been thrown in Gem Pop. I would have loved to see what happened. And it is not a death sentence, Carleen. Do you know what a death sentence is? The death penalty. That's a death sentence. But she's talking about all the publicity, you know, just crazy shit. Just, you know, she playing the sob story for her son. Basically, what I'm getting from this is that Carleen, while she loves her son, she also doesn't want to acknowledge that what she did was wrong. And I can understand that, but it's probably hard to accept. I've come across diagnoses and stuff in my life that are hard to accept, but ignoring them doesn't change them. The only thing you can do is move forward with these and live with them. You can't just sweep them under the rug and hope they'll go away. So if anyone has any interesting thoughts or just thoughts in general about Carleen's letter or something I said or a line that appalled you, please let me know in a message or comments. And if you guys want to collab on this letter like we did with Brock Turner's or, you know, with other things, I'd love to try and set that up with you. It'd be really fun. So next we're going to look at Dan Turner's letter.